Jimmy Dale, Jimmy Dale, Jimmy Dale. You know, I don't know the name of this episode. I just know it's episode number 3, season 4, right? But if I had to give this episode a name, I would name this episode, inspired by Hollywood, mind you, inspired by the character Hollywood. I would name this episode, oh, Jimmy Dale, you can catch these hands, okay? This episode was very hard to watch. I have to say, this is probably one of the, maybe even the only episode of Queen Sugar for the past 4 seasons where I laughed a lot in one episode and cried a lot in one episode. This was an excellent episode. This was excellent writing. They did a great job in building up the conflict with Jimmy Dale, the character Jimmy Dale, and Hollywood. Like, it starts off at the beginning kind of calm, then it explodes towards the end. I feel like the writers did an excellent job. The actors and actresses who all participated in these scenes in this whole entire episode were very great. Even the ones who we might not have seen as often throughout the season or just throughout the show, but that make, you know, their occasional appearances. I feel like everyone that basically was involved in this episode did a very excellent job. Everyone's role mattered. Everyone that participated, it adds to the story, and it was such a really great emotional episode. So to start off with things, you know, you have Violet, who is clearly distraught after reading Nova's book. It's like, though, after reading Nova's words about her life, it seems like rather Violet is very distraught, and after reading Nova's book that basically retells Violet's life and the abuse she's apparently endured by Jimmy Dale, it's like Violet just can't get herself together. She's reliving those past traumas, those experiences. And then too, I noticed she keeps looking at that pink hospital bracelet, and so in my mind I'm thinking, does that have to do with, you know, is there something more, you know, to this whole thing? In my mind I'm thinking maternity, because Violet has no children. So I'm just wondering, like, why she keeps looking at that. Why does she keep that specific hospital bracelet? Because it's a, you know, it seems as though Jimmy Dale was abusing her consistently. So I don't think she just had one trip to the hospital, but yet she only has one hospital bracelet, and she's treasuring that. She's holding on to that. So in my mind, I'm thinking there's got to be some reason for that. And the only thing I could think of for a woman that would hold on to something like that has got to be a baby involved or something. But anyway, that information was never, I'm not going to say it was never really revealed. There were some hints towards the end, but I don't want to jump too far ahead. So what we see is Jimmy Dale boldly walks into Violet's restaurant, and at this point Hollywood is there, but he's unfortunately in the back of the restaurant. I did not think that the writers would have Jimmy Dale and Violet meet up so soon in the episode, but once you get to the end of the episode, it makes sense as to why they have this encounter early on in the episode, because it definitely gives the conflict and between the two time to basically arise. It gives it time to evolve, and so it just makes sense why this all occurred at the beginning of the episode. But anyway, Jimmy Dale walks into the restaurant, the diner, Aunt Vi's diner, or Violet's diner, and immediately once she sees him, he says some slick stuff out his mouth that he always, you know, he always talking that slick stuff. Jimmy Dale think he's slick. But anyway, when he speaks, she's like in such complete shock from seeing him that she passes out in his arms. And I'm just like, oh no, not only did she pass out, but dang it, she had to pass out in his arms, and Hollywood in the back fumbling with some supplies and whatnot. Like, when is he coming back? I thought Jimmy Dale was about to run away with her. That's what I thought. That's just me. Did anybody else feel like that? I thought Jimmy Dale was about to run away with her. But anyway, when the episode comes back on, we see that Hollywood is now with Jimmy Dale, helping Violet come back too. And I kind of already assumed that Hollywood didn't know what Jimmy Dale looked like, because there's no way in the world Hollywood would be that calm in the presence of a man who beat the woman that he loves. Like, you know, he really loves Violet, And I'm assuming, like, you know, all the secrets that Nova knows are the same secrets that Hollywood knows. So Hollywood pretty much knows what Violet has went through at the hands of her ex-husband Jimmy Dale, and I'm pretty certain he would not be sitting there that calm, but yet he was, because it, you know, apparently he did not know he was in the presence of the man that brought his current wife so much trauma. So Jimmy Dale managed to scurry his slippery, slimy snake ass out the front door as Violet came to. And eventually Violet did reveal to Hollywood, after taking her home, that the man that was in that diner that she could remember was actually Jimmy Dale. And she gave the description of what he looked like to Hollywood, who then put two and two together that he too had saw Jimmy Dale. And at that point he contacted someone at the diner, like, listen, let me know if he shows back up. This is what he looks like. And I thought it was funny when he gave the description, because it was pretty much like, yeah, the gray beard, the yellow shirt, because that's what he had on, the yellow shirt. And I thought it was kind of funny, because I'm like, okay, do they not think anybody else could walk in there fitting that description? But then again, the way Jimmy Dale dressed and that gray beard, he's a very distinguished looking man, so I don't think it's going to be too many people walking into that diner looking like him. So it kind of makes sense. So I'm just gonna leave that right there, and we'll come back to that story in a minute. Anyway, you have Micah reading Blessings in Blood, basically starting to confirm Charlie's worst fear, that Micah would read the items or read the things that Nova says in her book and pretty much turn him against, you know, Charlie. And it's kind of starting to occur, but I don't think it's just the book that is making Micah feel distant from his mother. I also feel like it is the experiences that he's perceiving, that he's going through, and that Black America is going through, and feeling like his mother is pretty much at a distance from those these experiences and these traumas, based off of her maybe wealth and kind of emotional disconnection as he perceives it. So I don't feel like it's just the book that's making him feel distant from his mother. I feel like it's the way he's perceiving his mom to be a part of these Black American issues, that he's feeling like, you know, he just wants to create some distance between him and his mother. But either way it go, Charlie is not here for it, and you know, I can't blame her. It's her own son. Meanwhile, Ralph Angel is still himself upset about the fact that Nova has written the things that she has written in her book in regards to him and his family, or his son, and his son not really being his son. And he even goes on to inform Blue's mother, Darla, about the fact that Nova has written these things. And Nova has Darla has a little breakdown too, in regards to hearing this news that Nova took it upon herself to write about Blue. And you know, Darla's also concerned about whether or not Nova has revealed Ralph Angel and her past and the things that she's done, because remember, she's done a lot of stuff too, not to mention she was an alcoholic. But as far as Ralph Angel could tell her, he didn't really know, because he had stopped reading at the point where it revealed, where the book reveals that Blue is not his biological son. So that is very interesting. You know, if people only read certain portions of the book, it makes you wonder, will eventually the show reveal anything else that was written in the book that maybe everyone hasn't read just yet? So that is quite interesting. Even though Ralph Angel may be struggling emotionally with that situation, then the situation of the land and the farming going on with the one worker getting sick, he's also experiencing some happy moments with this lady that he's now seeing, who just happens to be the mother of Blue's playmate. So I think that's pretty cool too. I really like that he gets some happiness out of the deal, that he has some fun, some downtime, some time to really smile, you know, with this new companion in his life. And his concern with this lady is that she was going to find out his past, but lo and behold, because she worked in the law field anyway, she knows, or criminal justice field rather, she knows about, you know, doing background checks, and she already ran Ralph Angel's background check. but it did not intimidate her, thankfully. And she's like, you're not your files, you know, you're not your past. It is what it is, so let's move forward. And you could just see Ralph Angel light up after that, and I felt relieved for him, because I'm like that too. Like, that's not who you are. As long as that is not who you are now, let the past be the past. Okay, so we can't leave out the fact that Charlie ends up meeting with Jacob Boudreaux to try to find out why he gets to attend these board meetings of the Landry Enterprises, as I guess it's called, that she is also a shareholder of. However, she was told because she does not have enough shares, she cannot attend the meetings. However, he was able to. They have kind of like this awkward meeting in his office where he basically tells her through text message he can't talk there and to meet him somewhere. I be thinking Jacob just trying to get Charlie alone because he liked Charlie still. And you know, Jacob ain't a bad looking man, you know, so I'm not, you know, but you know, I understand the history. His parents was, you know, the slave holders, and it's just all jacked up, you know. That's a love that probably won't be. But I don't even know if Charlie feels that way about him. But either way it go, you can clearly tell Jacob is I wouldn't say starting to care about Charlie. It seems like he's been caring about Charlie for maybe since last season, or maybe even the season prior to that, so maybe about 2 seasons now. But you can definitely see that he cares, because he is going out of his way to warn her about the things that his family is doing, at risk, mind you, of his own reputation with his family, because that, I assume, that is all he knows. His family business is what he was born into. That's all he knows. He even reveals how he has to work hard and do all these sort of cutthroat things to satisfy and please his family. So I would assume, you know, it would take someone that he really, really has to care about in order for him to betray his family, basically, because that's what he's doing really when he's feeding Charlie these little informations. He's basically betraying his family, so he must really have feelings for Charlie, but it does not seem like those feelings are reciprocated, and I can understand why, given the historical context and the current context between the two families. But anyway, Charlie has some happy moments in this episode as well, as we do see her out with her doctor friend, and the doctor friend sets up a picnic. You know, I gotta learn his name. Anyway, he sets up a picnic for the two, and they have some discussions, and you can clearly see there's some things that Charlie is a little concerned about the doctor friend finding out about her and the things that she has done as it pertains to getting that sugar farm, or that farm of her family, up and running. And now it looks like the two are going to work together on a certain project, and I truly believe Charlie is doing this from the goodness of her heart, but I also think it's because she feels bad about certain things that she did do in the past, and maybe she's looking to reconcile with that by doing this volunteer work, helping this doctor friend set up this volunteer work. But you know, one scene everything's all good, then the next scene it goes all downhill, because Micah comes home, checks the mail, ends up finding a letter threatening his life, takes it to Charlie, and Charlie gives him a response that he did not want. I mean, he kind of seemed like he was already upset with her anyway, especially after reading Nova's book. But then taking the letter to her and kind of going off on her a little bit about the letter, it's like, okay, what did you expect? Like, she said she'll handle it. Well, that wasn't good enough for Micah, and Micah basically revealed to his mom that he feels like they're living in two different worlds, that she sees things one way and he sees things another. Well, sure enough, Charlie rebuttals this response by pulling out past letters that were threatening Micah's life, that she has apparently been receiving to the house since he made his famous speech. I believe that happened last season. And he's like, what? Like, he can't believe it. And she's like, I've been on it. I have a security detail that I hired for you. This is the reason why I sent you to Paris, you know, for 3 months. Like, I've already been on it. So you may think I'm not reacting to these threats and to what is happening, but you don't realize I am your mother and I'm going to do whatever it takes to keep you safe. Whether you think we're seeing these situations the same or not, just know I'm already on it. I cried. I definitely cried in that moment, and you could definitely see Micah very emotional, you know, as his mom embraced him, because I think he was really starting to believe that his mother could not relate to him, that his mother was actually the problem rather than part of the solution. And it was just very emotional, just a very emotional scene. Ugh. For the life of me, I do not understand why Jimmy Dale brought his behind back to the diner. Didn't I say this episode is going to be, oh, Jimmy Dale, you can catch these hands? Like, why did you come back to the diner? So anyway, Jimmy Dale ends up back at the diner. Hollywood approaches him at the diner, sits down with them, has a man-to-man, and that is where the infamous line comes in by Hollywood, you can catch these hands. I mean, I was cracking up. That whole entire exchange between Hollywood, then you have Jimmy Dale with his slick talking self. I mean, the whole thing was hilarious. I don't know how many of you enjoyed that encounter. I personally enjoyed it, and I genuinely thought for this episode that would be the last time we would see Jimmy Dale, especially after Hollywood threatened for Jimmy Dale to catch them hands, okay? But unfortunately, it was not the last time we would see Jimmy Dale, even though that is what Hollywood basically promised to Violet. At some point, I guess Hollywood had left the house. Violet was alone. Violet went to the door. When someone was at the door, it seems like she thought it was Hollywood, but come to find out it was actually Jimmy Dale. The look of horror on Violet's face as she just stood there with the screen door shut, staring in the eyes of Jimmy Dale. I mean, I don't know, you know, I don't know what that feels like. Like, I don't ever want to know what that feels like. But I'm sure, you know, there are people out here who have been in situations such as Violet's and hopefully are still living. I'm sure they know what that feels like, to see someone that brought you so much misery, that someone that you were in love with, but they claim to have loved you, but they fixed themselves to put their hands on you and justify it. Like, I can't imagine. And like I said, I truly believe there may have been a child involved, and I'm going to get to the reason why. I believe there may have been a baby, a fetus involved that never came, you know, into this life. And the reason being, well, I'll explain that in a minute, but basically Jimmy Dale is like, let me in the house, you know, not that aggressive, but he was getting to the point where he's getting aggressive. That slick talking and the little sly smile was starting to wear off between him during this encounter between him and Violet. For some reason, y'all, Violet opens the door and let him in. No, Jimmy Dale, Jimmy Dale, Jimmy Dale. Yeah, why did she let him in? I mean, that goes to show, it's like the Violet we were seeing in that moment, in that scene, was not the same Violet we have been seeing for the previous 3 seasons. This was the Violet from whenever that time, during the time she was married to Jimmy Dale. This was not the Violet we were seeing. We were seeing the past Violet, the hurt Violet, the Violet that was under Jimmy Dale's hypnosis, the Violet that was under Jimmy Dale's control, the Violet that, you know, was attached to Jimmy Dale's puppet master strings. Like, this is the Violet we were seeing, because it's like almost like she fell into hypnosis, the way she stared at him in a trance through that screen door, and all he had to do was say, you know, you're gonna let me in? And she hesitated, yes, but she opens the door, and it's like he had no control of you in that moment. The screen door was shut. But that's almost like that, I don't know, you know, that just this, gosh, what is that, Stockholm syndrome? I don't know, but either way it go, you know, that was very scary. I was very sad, like, no, don't open the door. But she did, and Jimmy Dale comes in and he start fast talking, and Violet is trying to hold her own by, you know, talking back a little bit. But there was even a point where he pretty much snapped on Violet and raised his voice. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute now, damn it, Jimmy Dale. Wait a minute. Don't let me come through this damn, TV screen and slap you. Now, wait a minute. You was funny when you was doing all that slick talking and your little encounter with Hollywood, but you done messed up. Because nobody messes with Violet, all right? Nobody. But anyway, so things started to kind of, heat up just a little bit. Next thing you know, Nova enters the front door. I'm like, is that Hollywood? No, it's Nova. It's Nova. I don't know what we thought Nova was about to do. I'm like, that's supposed to be Hollywood, because if he gets fly and he starts swinging, what Nova gonna do but get knocked out too? So anyway, things eventually did escalate to the point where it got physical, and Nova even jumped in, and this occurred after Jimmy Dale called himself touching Violet's stomach. Why? I don't know. Why did he do that? Anyway, he touches Violet's stomach, and that's when Nova's like, get off of her, and it got physical. And Violet is like pounding on him with this notebook, and next thing you know, Hollywood arrives on the scene outside. They managed to get Jimmy Dale outside. Hollywood arrives, and it's going down, okay? When I tell you all, I got so excited on the other side of the screen, like I'm right there, cheering everything on to see Hollywood. I mean, not that there was ever a doubt in my mind that Hollywood would physically protect Violet, but to see him actually do it, I was like, woo, woman, you married the right one. You married the right kind of man. Let me tell you, nothing more attractive than a man that will defend your honor, that will stand up for you, whether or not he know he's going to win the fight or not. Like this man, Hollywood, not to say he couldn't win against Jimmy Dale, not to say Jimmy Dale couldn't hold his own, but Jimmy Dale did talk a lot of ish, like he could really stand up against Hollywood, and Hollywood laid them hands. I mean, hey, Jimmy Dale caught them hands at the end of the day. He caught them hands. He caught them with his eye, granted, but he caught them hands. And yeah, it was just all bad. And Jimmy Dale made some remark about the fact that Violet was still upset about what he took from her years ago. That is why I say I believe that Jimmy Dale caused Violet to have a miscarriage from the abuse that he gave her, and that's why she tends to look at that bracelet, that hospital bracelet, because I truly believe whenever she had that miscarriage and was checked into the hospital, that is the specific bracelet that they gave her. And it was atrocious, and for him to say something like that definitely lets us know that he is a horrible person, and that he definitely, even though it's been years since they've been married, he hasn't changed. His feelings have not changed. And he even said something like, oh, you were a hot piece of ass, and I know I should have never married you. I mean, he was so cruel. And I knew once all of this was over, or even as it was occurring, I already knew that's it for Nova. That is it for Nova's presence in Violet's life, because there is no way in the world Violet is going to sit up there and allow all of this hell to come down on her. And it's all because of what Nova has done. So at the end, it is revealed by Nova herself that she was the one that basically brought Jimmy Dale back into the fold by contacting him to get his side of the story on him and Violet's relationship for Nova's book. And when I tell you all, Violet did an excellent job of staying calm. And she calmly dismissed Nova out of her life. And that was very emotional. That was a very emotional scene, because you got Hollywood. And it seems like Hollywood, he doesn't want that disconnect between Nova and the family. But at this point, it's like, okay, this is my wife. You sat up here and you know better. You know what this man did to her. But you would do something like that. So he kept his mouth shut the entire time. And, he did not protest it or anything. And with Violet, I know she loves her family. She loves her nieces and her nephew. But Nova basically just put her life in danger. And that's a no. That's a no. So I can't say I didn't. I did feel really bad for Nova. I even had some tears rolling down during that scene. All of these actors and actresses that participated in this episode, they need like a standing ovation. This was a really excellent episode. I would have to say, for me, The one I that stands out the most in this episode would be Violet, because of the emotions that she had to experience during this whole episode. So it was excellent. I'm looking forward to what the next episode would hold. I'm very curious, will we ever see Jimmy Dale again? It feels like this should be it after that ass whooping he got, but you never know. Some people are hard-headed that way. And besides, we also learned in this episode that it was Ernest, Violet's brother, who is also the father to Charlie, Ralph Angel, and Nova, who whooped Jimmy Dale's ass the first time, but yet he still came back years later only to get his ass whooped again. So who knows, maybe 3 times the charm, maybe he'll come back again. So that's it. Let me know what you all think about this episode in the comment section. I'll see you all next week. Peace.